Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy. In this episode, I'm going to be test fitting the cold side, including this intercooler, to my 1979 Ford Fairmont project. So in addition to the intercooler, we also have all the cold side pipes here that I'm also going to install to try to get an idea of where everything is going to live. In fact, I'm going to start by installing this cold side piping so I know where to locate the intercooler. I'm going to start by installing the down pipe that comes out of the turbo and goes down to the intercooler. It has a blow-off valve here also. I'm going to try and right this. All the clamps are loose. It's amazing how different it is inside the car. I can see why they have the blanket there, because those are right next to each other. I need to get something to hold that pipe up while I tighten this up. Seems as though it'll be easier to install this clamp now before I put the pipe on. Just want to hold it in place while I put it up in the air. I think the zip tie should do nicely. Well, I'm going to add another one. I'll hold it in relative position while I put it up in the air. I'm going to try to fit this pipe from up here. I just tried to do it from underneath and did not have any success. This may be something I have to get in the car before the engine and the turbo are in here. Then again, maybe not. All right. I'm already seeing an issue. That starter solenoid is probably going to have to move. And that's okay, because I want to know that. I want to know that now. I believed when this was all in here that this would point almost as a straight shot towards the engine, you know, something like that, which is super wedged in there because I'm still going to have a carburetor on there, and then I've got to have the carburetor hat, but then there's hood clearance to consider. This is like way tight. That looks pretty close, but way above my hood line. I think I've just found a problem. Oh, you know what? That's it. It's got to go like that. Let's try it the right way. This is a pipe I'm going to leave in here before I install the engine, just to make it easier. Can't decide if this is better coming up from the bottom or up through here like this. Let's try up through the bottom. Let's try from underneath. It may not happen. The stupid turbo wasn't in the way. Okay. So that will live here like this. And then this comes in here. And feeds the carburetor. Hopefully that's long enough, because if it's not, well, I gotta hunt something down. That piece goes in place, something like that. And honestly, I don't see a need to move the starter solenoid. Seems like it's happy there. I might change its orientation. I might put it to where instead of pointed sideways like this, it's pointed straight up and down. So I might move these fasteners and stick it in that way. But for now, yeah, it's not so bad. That pipe terminates there. This one comes down here. I'm doing this so that I can locate where the intercooler is supposed to go. Got both ends set up so I can set the intercooler up in there and support it so I can get an idea of where I'm going to need to place my brackets. That looks about right up top. This, I'm not sure what it's going to need to do. This can't really go back anymore, and that really can't go forward. I can already see one thing. Gonna have to take that pulley off the front of the engine. No way around that. That's coming into contact with the pipe. Can't get anything in here. So this bracket ain't gonna work out. It's gotta go. I didn't need it. You can just leave that off. And hopefully that gives me, yeah. That's what I was looking for. More of a straight shot like that. But it still seems to hang down so stinking low. Gonna hold this up into place while I drop this down so I can take the pulleys off the front of the engine so I can move this thing back because it's a little far off from where it needs to be. Bungee cords, I'll give those a try. Some might require two. That's better. Bungee cords, done. From up here, we can more clearly see the problem. That V-belt pulley that we use just to run it on the dyno is coming into contact with the pipe and not allowing it to come back far enough so that we can move the intercooler back. So job one is to swap that out for the pulley that I'm actually going to be using and see where that sits. How convenient, there's no radiator in the way. It's so close it catches washers. Ooh, there's a funky gasket. That moved things quite a bit. Now we have to get our actual pulley on there to see where it lands. I'd say this guy's a little smaller. I had to go back to the old fasteners because there was no way I was going to be able to get anything on a bolt inside here. Not sure why that's happening. threaded it in by hand. Brand new balancer. Have to deal with that when I get the engine back out. For now, it'll do for test fitting. Does it hang lower than I like? Yes. Does it need to be down here in order to fit in this car? Also yes. I'm gonna make the best of it and try to get it as high up as I can. Maybe I'll figure something out for around the outside of it. Cover up those pipes. Hardly says sleeper with this big intercooler in the front here. No matter what, we gotta get it mounted up in here. And as I said, I'm gonna try to bring it up as high as I can. Looks like if it comes forward like that, I can get it up quite a bit higher. It's a little more livable. That's a lot more livable there. It keeps getting a little better with each crank, each turn. It still says I'm a turbo car, but not nearly as bad as it did a minute ago. I just need to keep it away from the inside of the bumper. You know, give a good 1/4 inch clearance between that and that. I realize that part of it's getting covered by the bumper and it's not gonna have the same cooling effects, but it certainly seems a lot better up in that neighborhood than it did down below. I can make that work. I have a piece of steel here that I got from the hardware store. It is 3/16 by 1, it's 3 feet. It is 3/16 thick, obviously. I wanted to put thicker stuff on the bottom. I'm not gonna put as thick as stuff on top. But the plan, the idea, is to fasten it here, bend it up, and then over so that it attaches underneath to this lower core support. And then I'm also going to attach it to the top with a couple of straps that come down to the upper area to fasten that down. So this is a bit of a challenge, but one that I'm up to task for. First, need to determine about how much I'm gonna need, and then make it. And I'm gonna fasten it with 2 fasteners in here and 1 fastener here. I wanna mount the intercooler up higher than where it is. And I wanna do that for a couple of reasons. I realize it's gonna cool better if it hangs down lower. It'll be easier to make the brackets if I can make the brackets straight across, but also it'll help protect it. If it's hanging down really low in the front, if I hit a curb or something, this car's been lowered. If I had a curb or something like that, there goes my intercooler. So I'm trying to protect it as well. So if I can keep it sort of in line with the core support, if I bottom out on anything, it's not gonna damage it. That's kind of where I'm going. Now, as far as airflow, well, that's obviously gonna change because a lot of it will be up behind the bumper. Haven't really thought that through yet. However, I do have maybe an idea, which I'm not ready to share with you now, that I might add later on down the road, which will help increase the efficiency of the intercooler. For now, however, in order to get that up more, I need to move this tube up, which means making this hole a little bit bigger. That's not a problem. I also thought this starter solenoid, having it here, isn't really working out. And this is why I'm doing this, to figure these things out. So what I think I'll do is I'm gonna remove this solenoid entirely and move it back here into this area. So it seems protected, sequestered. You really gotta keep these terminals away from the body because this is directly connected to the battery positive. If it touches ground or is close enough to ground, it can arc, and we don't want that. But right down in this area, I think would be fine for relocation of that solenoid. For now, it needs to go, and I need to make this hole bigger. Need to undo some clips. Easier said than done. harness for the headlights. I'll have to figure that out. But that certainly opens things up. The Astro saw will be my best friend here, because that's not cool. It opened things up a bit, I guess. It didn't fall in the intercooler, it just fell in the hose. One of my bungees let loose. That was unfortunate. Trying to take off some of the rough edges. And this is why I didn't detail the engine compartment. I can get this hose up in here like this, and I think that's about as good as I'm gonna do as far as mounting it. So now we make brackets and mount it. I need to figure out my optimal distance between the core support and the intercooler. And the closer it is, the less stress there'll be on my bracket, but I can only go in so far. And that looks like about as far as I can get. Time to make some brackets. And this seems, looking at this, it seems just about square with this core support, which is kind of what I'm going for. And now I want to mark how much material I'm going to use. Probably going to go to about there. Gives me a little bit of leftover, gives me enough for my bend. And in fact, this kind of gives me an idea. Since this is so long now, it's going to give me optimum leverage. If I wait and bend it when I cut it short, it's not going to be so optimum. Therefore, if I bend it now, so I want it flat up there, but I want to bend it right here. I'll go in a little more. So that's where I want my bend. I think I'll start with that. I think I'm going to start with my first bend and then fit it, and then finally I'll cut it when I've got it all bent the way I like it. That way, it'll be the exact length I want it to be. All I have to do is drill a few holes, move on to the next one. Cold bending is better than hot bending. However, I don't know if I'll have that luxury here. I mean, it's a good vise. Maybe just a little bit of heat will make it that much easier to do. I'm going to use the torch. Where's my hammer? Fabrication is fun. Perfect. Now I need to make a bend in the other direction. In fact, this bracket can kind of hold it a little bit. That's cool. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to make this bend. Here's my thought. Actually, I'm going to push it down in there just a little bit more. I'm going to try to bend it right at where it sits on the vise. Before it bent slightly above. A little more heat maybe. I'm a good driver. Let's see if that worked. Yeah. A little farther out than I wanted it to be. Maybe I can do better. That's why I bought extra, just in case. I bend that a little more, and that's in there. And there it is. I just need to cut it. I'm going to scribe it since my marker will melt. That seems like a reasonable place to cut it. Much better. Face shield. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. I'm gonna let this cool and then I'll drill the holes. But while this is cooling, I'm gonna get my other one ready. This is the bracket that I just made. I could easily make 2 of these, and this can come in just a little bit more. Yeah, it'll be fine. So I'm gonna use this as a template and make another one, hopefully just like it. Just sort of scribing where I want it to bend. Trying to find something that's square. Square, enough. Do I have a square somewhere? You know, that's probably something I should get. A little bit longer. I can always make it shorter, but it's nice to have it, you know, where it's supposed to be. Pretty ding-dang close. Pretty ding-dang close. Before I cut it, probably should check it. That's fine. Totally fine. I'm gonna start by shortening the end, and then I'm gonna cut it to length. I feel like bragging about this. I got these pretty stinking close. I'm gonna start by drilling the hole that's gonna go into the intercooler, because I can move these around. I'll make 2 holes in there. I want 2 fasteners in here and 1 that goes through here. That seems like a reasonable place to park. And I'm using 3/8. I was gonna say 3/8, but I didn't want to come off as an idiot. 3/8 drill bit. And these are my new cobalt bits, which are wicked good. I'm just going to drill 2 holes in the back here. Their placement is not critical to me at this time, because I can just mark on the car where I want to drill the holes in, but since I like the sameness of my brackets, I think I'm just going to make lines that I have them in relatively the same place. Got me a bracket with holes in it. There's a couple of burrs here. Just gonna hit them with the wire wheel. Hopefully they'll go away. Oh, probably should have taken that corner off, which I can in a minute. Oh, this is not going up on here permanent like. It's just going up on here long enough so that we can figure out that I made the holes in the wrong place. And I need to make another hole. Sure do. Making another hole is not that big a deal. Yeah, make me another hole. I really should have checked this ahead of time. It'll be all right. But the next one, I'm gonna space the holes out here and here. Take full advantage. But this one, kind of a little late to the game. Probably should make sure that this is centered where I want it to be before I commit that far, but actually looks pretty darn centered to me. Yeah, these brackets right here touching the very end of it, I'm saying that's centered. I just have to figure out what size drill bit I need and perhaps add a little light. It's important to make engine noises while you work on your hot rod. That way you can dream about what life is going to be like once you start driving it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I forgot about the turbo. Swamp, swamp, swamp. Connection 1 achieved. We're just holes away from connection 2, which I'm not going to make the same mistake with. Bottom brackets are done. Must say, I'm proud of it. It's kind of not going anywhere already, but we still got to do the top. I'm just putting the condenser in just so that I have some idea where it lives. The radiator, I've got that sorted out. There's a whole bunch of aluminum there, right? This way I have some idea where everything's supposed to live before I do my final mounting. Looking good, looking real good. That intercooler's not going anywhere. I am gonna have to get somewhat creative. As far as this side is concerned, it's gonna have to be an angle bend instead of a straight bend. Now for up here, I got different steel. I got 1/8 inch steel for up here because this is just really holding the top in place. It's not supporting like the lower part is, not as much anyway. This stuff will be a little bit easier to work with. So when I go down here to do this angle bend, which is what I intend to do, I'm gonna bring it up so that it lands just under here. And what I'm doing with these is I'm just gonna bend it and get it to where I can attach it. Then I'll mark where it needs to be cut and I'm just gonna cut it. I'm gonna do that on both sides. So I'll come over here and do the same thing. Or I'll just come down in, do a bend, figure out where it's gonna land, and away we go. I like to start with the hard stuff first. Now I just sort of eyeballed what I'm intent on doing. Now I'm gonna bend this over flat, but it's gonna have the 90 down here. So it'll be a 90, but at this angle, because it seemed like it's gonna land where I wanted it to. See how successful I am. I mean, it's not exactly 100% straight, but if I drill a hole in that, I think it'll be fine. Disco. Something goes in here. I gotta figure out what that is, but it looks like I'm away from it. I'm gonna go grab the grill just to see where it goes. So far, I'm liking where this lives. I don't know what goes there. Some kind of bracket went there. Oh, let me try the headlight bracket. No, it's not that. What went there? Oh, the old condenser. The old condenser went there. We ain't using the old condenser. We got a new condenser. We don't need to worry about those holes. Ha! Good to check though. While the other bracket is cooling, this one can just be straight up, I think. You know, I'll land it somewhere between these two holes in the core support. I just need to make sure that I come over far enough. How do I make sure of that? Looks like about 1.25 inches maybe. Or just do it like this. I got me an idea. We got 2 of these strips of metal. Okay, so you're living there. I need you to come over to about there. That seems plausible. We'll give it a little bit extra. So what if we have a little extra? You can always trim it down, right? Yeah, I can trim it down a little bit, but I'd rather have it like this to where I could trim it down a little bit than where I couldn't. That's a stabby part. Careful. I'm gonna wait until I drill this hole and mount this down. Learned my lesson last time before I mark that one. I pulled these fasteners out of my stash of fasteners. I'm going to go and get other fasteners when time permits, but I just wanted to get moving on this fabrication so that I had it done today. It's like it was made to be there. It was specially made by magic elves. May have to give up on this drill. This battery is dead. Intercooler is mounted. Well kids, the cold side of my turbo system has pretty much been fitted. Mainly, I wanted to get this intercooler mounted up, fabricate these brackets, which we have done. Yay! Still some additional tweaking to get done on the cold pipes and everything else, but I'm gonna wait until I get the carburetor and the carburetor hat installed so I have a complete system to work with before I do any final adjustments. Aside from that, if you have automotive questions, I ask that you head over to EricTheCarGuy.com. I will put a link in the description, make it super easy. I'll also put links in the description to additional information pertaining to this video, tools, information. So if you have questions, check the description. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you wish to connect with me socially, be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.